Hey, if you've known me for any period of time, you know that I'm kind of a mechanical kind of guy. I know how to take things apart. I know how to put them back together. I spend a lot of time looking at how things work. It just has always intrigued me ever since I was a kid. So about 18 years ago, somebody gave me an old 1926 Model T, and I went to work on that thing. And as I worked on it, I had all the tools for it, and it worked really well. I had the same tools that I had when I was in high school working on my car. I couldn't get anybody else to work on my car. I had to work on it because I had to save money and I wanted changes, but I learned how to do it and the tools were perfect. But then something began to shift. They came out with metric. Well, I had to buy all new tools. It's almost like the landscape of car mechanics changed, and so I had to get something different to make sure I was able to accomplish what I wanted to. But then there was another change. And that change was when everything started going electrical. It went from carburetors to fuel injections. Everything changed. You know what? I had to come to a new understanding. And that new understanding was how everything plays together, how it fits. And I thought, how can we complicate something that's so easy, like this 1926 Model T, and make it into something that's so confusing? And I think that's what happens in these new cultures that our kids are facing today. I think it's complicated, and what we do is try to fix new problems with old tools, and we just get frustrated and we hurt our knuckles and we end up not being able to fix it. I think most parents have something very valuable to offer their kids. And I've got to tell you this, and I think it's so important because most parents look at me and say, Mark, what can I do to go up against this culture that's influencing my kids? And I said, you can do a lot. You can offer your child something that nobody else can offer. You can give them something that nobody else can give them. And I tell you, there's never been a time as more important as right now for the role of parents in the life of their kids. And this is what you can give them, 5 things. You can give them wisdom. You can give them a relationship. You can give them your time. You can give them value. And you can share experiences with them. Nobody else can do that the way that you can. But my fear is that if we try to accomplish that with a lot of old tools, then what happens is we're not able to accomplish what's really true to our heart and very dear to our heart. Okay, here's the example of mechanics things again. My wife just came home with a new car last week. And so I wanted to go out, and like every man, I wanted to look at the engine. Like you open the hood, you look at it, and it makes you feel like you're more of a man if you look at an engine and go, that's an engine. But I opened it up, and I had no idea what it was. I looked at it, and I thought, I can't work on this thing. And you know what? Right behind it, I've got the greatest set of tools you have ever seen. I can work on every machine there is, but not the machine I have right now. And so I sat there and looked at it. I just kind of closed the hood because I got frustrated, which is what a lot of parents do when they go to their child and they try to engage these 5 different things with them and just don't have the tools to do it. But then I even got in the car and I thought, well, I'll just start it up. But it's one of those new things that, I don't know, it's a keyless car. I couldn't even get the thing started. Here's my point. The changing landscape of adolescence is forever changing. And because it's forever changing, you've always got to be adding new tools to your parenting toolbox so that you can offer yourself to your kids in ways where they need you to be involved in their life. And be involved in such a way that you can help fix things, that you can help do maintenance on things, that you can improve things so that you can be of use to your child. That's why adding some new tools is so important. So here's some tools that I have in my adolescent toolbox that I think can be helpful to you. And I tell you what, I'm going to tell you that after all these years of working with kids, these are the 3 things that I found that are the most effective in my developing relationships with kids. And I'm not just talking about my own kids. I'm not talking about another 50 kids over here. I'm not talking about speaking at a youth group. I'm talking about 2,500 kids that have lived with us and about the 60 kids that live outside our back door. These have been some of those proven, tried and true tools that I've used that have just changed the way that I can engage with kids that accommodate the culture that they live in. So here we go. This is number one. I want you to set aside a time to meet with your child weekly. Why? Because there's not enough time to spend with kids. We all get so busy. Your kids are busy. Your other kids are busy. Your life is busy. Work is busy. There's more demands than there ever has been. And it's so busy that what we've done is eliminate the very thing that's the most important to us many times. Telling your kid that you want to spend time with them conveys a sense of value that can't be given to them in any other way. To say, I'd like to go eat breakfast once a week. I'd like to go get a cup of coffee. Even the little 12 and 13-year-olds can do that. I'd like to go out and eat dinner. I'd love to have some time that is designated during the week that you and I get together. And if you have one of those kids that go, Mom, Dad, hey, I really don't want to do that, then I would encourage them in other ways. Say, if you do that, then I'll be happy to pay for your cell phone. If you do that, then I'll be happy to put gas in your car. I'll be happy to pay for insurance. Whatever you need to do to make sure that your child is spending time with you and that you have the opportunity to sit down with them. Okay, and if you're a mom or dad out there saying, we don't have the time to do it, let me encourage you to do this. Stop doing some of your less important stuff to do some of the most important stuff that you will ever be able to do as a parent. You may be teaching a Sunday school class that can be taught by somebody else. You may be serving in a position in some civic club or somewhere that somebody else can do. Spend time with your child during their adolescent years. Dads, you can always pick up golf again. Give it up to spend time with your kids. Moms, quit doing everything for everybody else and spend time with your family. Dedicate yourself to invest your life in your kids during the time that they need you the most. And that is right now during their preteen and adolescent years. Okay, so you got this thing set up where you're getting together once a week. Okay, what do? Here's the second tool. Start asking questions. Just ask questions. You know what I do when I sit down with a child, I start asking questions. And if they ask me a question, I ask another question on top of it. And then if they ask me a question, I ask another question on top of it. Rarely do I give answers. For I know this, every time I give a child an answer, it's one less answer that they need to search for. Somewhere along the line, we've gotten into this habit of always teaching our kids about everything. And part of training that becomes so important is letting them begin the search to find the answers to the questions that they have about life. What I'm doing also by asking questions is modeling to them how they gain wisdom, because this is what I want. I want them to come back to me and say, can I ask you a question? And they'll do so because they've seen somebody asking them questions. Okay, the third tool. I want to make sure that when I'm sitting there asking questions, that I don't share my opinion unless asked. The tendency is I look at it as an opportunity for me to engage with my child. I have an audience that's kind of captured for a moment, and I can spend all my time telling all my stories and all my life issues and all my stuff. This isn't a time for mom and dad. This is a time for your child. And so I don't share my opinion unless asked. I wait for them to come to me and go, hey, Dad, hey, what do you think about this? Mom, what do you think about this? There's an old proverb that says, a fool delights in sharing his opinion. And so I just want to remain quiet. There's another proverb that says this, even a fool appears wise when he keeps his mouth shut. And so I want to spend my time, with my child. Every week, I want to ask them questions, and I don't want to share my opinion. And some of you guys out there are saying, now, wait a minute. I can't waste my time like that listening to what's going on at school and about cheerleading and about who's doing what on Facebook and, who has what kind of clothes or what. Moms are going, wait a minute, I want to get to the important stuff and talk about. You know what? When you start doing this with your child, you're building communication lines during a calm season of their life, so that when the storms come, and they will come, so when they come, you'll be able to continue your communication and you'll be able to ask questions. For one day, your child will come to you and say, hey, Mom, Dad, hey, tell me about when you were in high school. What did you do when you faced this? Hey, what should I do about this? What do you think about this? As they're on their journey gathering all information, you want them to come to you. Now, here's a question that somebody always asks. Every seminar, every time I speak somewhere, they always ask this question: should I share things about myself? I go, absolutely. Well, how much do I share? I go, everything. Now, not all the detail, but it's important for parents to be able to share that their life was not perfect when they were teens either. It almost brings in a sense of hope for a child to understand that they don't have to be perfect as well, and their parents turned out okay. And somebody goes, now wait a minute, if I tell them all that, then they're going to say, well, I'm going to do all that stuff that you did, and you turned out okay, so will I. I don't think they'll do that. What you can tell them is, no. That's why I'm so certain that I'm not going to allow you to do those things, over the next few years. Spending time together one-on-one will give you the opportunity to speak truth into your child's life. It'll ensure that you can be there, amidst their darkness when they maybe make a bad decision. It will guarantee that you have a position on their decision-making resources to say, I need to ask Mom and Dad about this. Spend the time. It's well worth the investment, and it will be paid back to you for the rest of your life.